When the doubt gets loud, but answer that call. Vision ain't real till you grind at speed, so breathing deep. Then call the damn leads. Call the damn leads.
Hey, welcome back to Call the Damn Leads, the show by sales professionals for sales professionals. I'm your host, Drewbie Wilson. With more than 2 decades in sales, I've seen it, been through it, heard about it. Now I'm bringing it to you, my favorite people in the world, the sales community. So let's be honest, this is the greatest job on earth. Doesn't matter where you come from, what background, what personality type, you can create an amazing life in sales. Today's guest, no stranger to the journey, it's Mr. Chris Smith. Welcome to the show.
What's up, Drewbie? I'm excited, and you're spot on. You know, weight, race, gender, age, sexual orientation, none of it matters. You know what matters? The numbers.
Amen, brother. This is going to be an awesome conversation, and I want to just jump right in, man. I want to hear your crazy sales story.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what. My first week in sales shook me to my core because I got a job for a billionaire named Lou Pearlman, which is like, we could do a whole hour on just how creepy and weird he is. But the TLDR is founder of NSYNC, founder of Backstreet Boys, founder of Britney Spears. I'm in Orlando, boy band, pop capital of the world. And he had a company that was Event Vacations. And so I'm like a week into the job, and I had done pretty good in my first week. And he had this sales coach that I found out later went to jail for telemarketing fraud in the 80s. So this is like Wolf of Wall Street for real. So I go in, it's like day 5. And he comes in, and every morning he would do this a great lessons that, you know, stick with me to this day that I teach salespeople. And he came in on like Friday, and he was like, hey, I've got a list of names I'm going to read. And if you hear your name, you still have a job. And if you don't, you have 5 minutes to leave the building. And I was like, oh, crap. So he called half the names. And it was so uncomfortable because like there's like a husband and a wife in one state and one did. And there was like, this guy got this guy a job, and the guy that got the guy the job got fired, and the guy that he got the job for didn't get fired. It was mayhem. It was like Jerry Maguire, you know, when he was leaving the office. And so, you know, the 5 minutes went by. Everybody's gone. People are crying. It was crazy. So he comes back in and he said, hey, I just want to let you guys know that I didn't fire any of them. They all fired themselves because they didn't hit their numbers. And he said, one of the ladies actually just now, she came in, she said, I'm pregnant. Another guy said his wife has cancer. He said, let me tell you something. When we create the spreadsheets, when we look at the numbers every week and every day and every month, there's a reason the box is only big enough for the number, because excuses don't fit. Now get back on the phone. He said, get back on the goddamn phone. And that was just like, whoa, that was my first week, dude. And I was like, holy cow. So, you know, we made a lot of sales that day. We were dialing hardcore. And I just, you know, loved working in boiler rooms. I came up in the high volume, you know, 100 calls, 5 conversations, 2 deals, 1 closes kind of a world. And I've been in it ever since. I mean, I have a sales call after this call. Like I love it. So I like what you said, that, you know, sales, I think, is most people's quickest path to leveling up their income and their life.
Man, that is one heck of a story. I love how Call the Damn Leads can really hit, because that's the truth. Like, at the end of the day, the answer to every problem that you have, whatever it is to pick up the phone and call the damn leads. Because if you're having conversations, you're getting closer to making sales. And when you start making sales, you start making money. And listen, money's not everything in life, but it solves a lot of freaking problems. And so you have this crazy job in, you know, boiler room. You've been doing it your whole life. Tell me a little bit more about, like, what are you doing now, and how are you still focusing around the sales lifestyle?
Yeah. Well, what I learned by work, you know, selling shoes and selling, you know, software, mortgages, you know, now I have companies that are AI. I have an email marketing agency. I work a lot with real estate agents. I'm kind of a, you know, influencer in the real estate industry to realtors, not to consumers. But, you know, what I've learned, and then of course, selling from the stage, selling on a webinar, trying to sell like in a small way at the end of a podcast like this, like what I've learned is that there's a science to sales. And that is what I've kind of documented as my journey has kind of unfolded. And I've got crazy good accolades like Inc. 500 fastest growing business. Forbes, Fortune, like my book is an international bestseller, 7 languages, like it's, almost 1 million copies, called The Conversion Code, which is the science of sales. And so that's what I wanted to do, was like, as lead generation and social media and landing pages and all of this stuff started kind of popping off, I realized like, and this was just because I was asking my clients, like, what do you need the most help with? And they're like, Chris, we got the leads coming in. We can't turn the leads into customers. We can't go from lead to cash register. They're not answering. They don't want to hear us out. And I was like, well, I worked in the boiler room for like 10 years. Like that part's easy for me. I get that part. And I'll tell you what, man, the back to that coach, he drew, and why I say the science of sales, he drew like an XY graph on the chalkboard one day. And I think it's the like easiest thing to remember. It's 100% your job, no matter what you're selling and what platform method. And it basically has like a heart on the left side of the graph, and it has a clock at the bottom. Okay. So there's a heart over here, there's a clock over here, and then there's like a dotted line. And he said, sales is super simple. Your job is to get people more excited than the cost during the time you have their attention. And it just was like, oh, that makes perfect sense. But in the real world, like you said, that often takes a long, deep conversation. And when you're calling internet leads, or like I worked for Quicken Loans and Rocket Mortgage, and, these people are like checking out Yahoo Finance in the morning, they click on some like, shoot the alien to see the rates ad, and then I'm calling them and they weren't expecting a call. So it's just like, it's a lot harder than it sounds. But I did ask him, I said, hey, coach, that is so simple. Thank you for teaching us that. But what do you do to get them more excited than the cost? And he said, well, that's also easy. It's called enthusiasm. And I said, well, what do you mean? He said, IASM. I am sold myself. And so that, to me, those are just sort of like the principles of sales, and you have to love what you're selling. I think most people would realize that. Like, I will guarantee you that the number one car salesman in the country loves cars, right? Like, I can tell you the real estate agents that I work with, it is their passion. I mean, they just freaking love it. So sometimes you have to manufacture that enthusiasm if you're like in a boiler room selling sleazy stuff. But yeah, that's it, man. Get them more excited than the cost. And then, by the way, close, because that graph has a backside where you keep going. And now that, you had them and now they're gone. But yeah, I love it. And I would say if you can just sort of apply that to every conversation that you have, and you can even apply it to appointment setting, because, the average cold call that leads to an appointment is under 5 minutes. It's like 450, somewhere in there. But the average cold call that doesn't is like 330. They're like very short. But it's the same thing. It's just the graph is just shorter on the time side. You got, 120 seconds to get them more excited, but you're not trying to sell them anything. You're trying to sell them to book an appointment. So your offer has to be more exciting than their time, right? Not their money when you're appointment setting. So yeah, man, I hope that's helpful for people listening.
Listen, there's somebody out there right now that is scribbling furiously. And what I really love about this conversation, and I know we're going to have to chat more offline too on this, but like real estate agents in particular, they seem to love call the damn leads. It's like, it speaks to them, because a lot of times, and it's not just real estate, I'm just picking on y'all because Chris brought it up. So like, hear me out. Yeah. In every industry though, people know they need to pick up the phone. And it's always been interesting to me when you meet people who have been in the game 5, 10, 15, 100 years for some of these agents, it seems like they're still afraid to pick up that phone and have the conversations. Why do you think that is?
Well, there's a term for it. It's called call reluctance. And I think that the main reason is they're not afraid to pick up the phone and call someone they know or their past client or their buddy. They're afraid to call strangers. And the number one reason they don't want to make those calls is because it's hard. The mindset. So I'm that 100-year-old realtor. Well, I probably built my business through networking and belly to belly interactions. And now all of a sudden you're telling me to call, 100 Zillow leads or 100 Facebook leads that none of them know me, they don't like me, and they've got that brick wall up, as soon as they answer. They don't even answer, by the way, just to be clear. Over 90% of the people never answer the phone, when they don't recognize the number. So, yeah, I think it's really about framing. What they always told me that I never forgot is that conversations create customers. So I never really thought about, oh my God, I'm on dial number 80, dial number 90. I knew, and this is what happens when you work in a boiler room, like Quicken Loans, their technology is crazy, dude. They know how many dials you've made, what your talk time is. Like they know every stat, and they're freaking mass emailing it to the whole, Salesforce every freaking 10 minutes, right? Like, so you see, I'm not making, yeah, it's crazy. So like when you sort of know your numbers and you do that day after day after day after day, then you trust the process. Then you realize, like, my goal was always, if I can write a loan by lunch, then I can go to lunch, but if I don't, I really can maybe go have a cigarette and come right back up. Like that's about the expectation. So for me, it was like, okay, for every 3 to 4 hour call block that I do, I know I can write one loan. And so I didn't really care if it was 12 calls or 120 calls like that. Those numbers I never really thought about. I knew that if I trusted the process, I was doing a deal a day, because you have to write 2 loans for one to close, because half the people are lying about how much their home's worth or their credit score or whatever. So yeah, so that to me is like, and in our industry, you said real estate agents like this show, they have largely outsourced the appointment setting to what they call an ISA, inside sales agent, because they realize like, no, I'm rich. I don't want to dial for dollars. I'm freaking 59 years old and I got $4 million in the bank and I make $600,000 a year. I'm not going to I'm not going to do an entry level job. So in Silicon Valley, because I own software companies, it's called an SDR, sales development rep. And there's a great book. You probably know it if you're in the sales ecosystem, called Predictable Revenue. It's by a guy named Aaron Ross. And he sort of invented this concept that like your salespeople shouldn't be the ones setting their own appointments, because then if I'm a really good salesperson, I work for a company that does it that way, I probably have 6 to 8 calls on the books every day. And maybe 3, half of them show, or maybe 75% of them show. So I'm spending all my time selling and following up with my pipeline of people I've already talked to. Versus when you have to kind of like hunt and gather, it's really tricky. You know what I'm saying? So that I think is probably the big epiphany would be, it's okay not to like it, but it's not okay not to do it. Right. And the people that are willing to set those appointments, and you can pay them, usually you can pay them a pretty low dollarly wage and then bonuses for production. There's very few sales jobs where you make a lot of money unless you sell a lot of stuff. So if I'm the realtor, like, hey, I'm not even incentivizing appointments. I'm incentivizing closings, but I'll give you a pretty big chunk of a closing if you set the appointment that leads to it. That's the other thing I've learned in sales is compensation matters. Like it's a tough gig. So when someone's successful, they should make money. And it's funny you said someone's scribbling. I don't know if this is a video show or audio.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, that's like all the stuff in my book is like hand drawn, because all the lessons were like on a chalkboard. So the top one is the science of sales. The bottom one is the I am sold myself.
Love that, man. And I knew coming into this, because I was doing my research, doing a little background checking on you. I knew this was going to be a great conversation, because you and I think alike in terms of it's not as difficult as most people are making it out to be. If you have a process, if you have KPIs, which are the key performance indicators for those that aren't in this already, but it's like, how many reps are you doing every day? And if you're paying attention to that, you're going to inevitably get better. You're going to make more sales. You're going to have more important conversations. But as you mentioned, Chris, like either you're doing it or you're paying someone to do it for you, because that is the only option that you have. And so one of the things that I learned along my way as a sales guy, because I grew up in the boiler room selling home and auto insurance, 200, 300 cold calls a day, plus internet leads, you know the game as well as I do. But that's where you're just like, hey, all I got to do is have conversations. However, as you also said, when you start having more high quality conversations, the game does get a little bit, I'm not going to say easier, but it's a little simpler. Right?
Better quality of life. Better quality of life.
It is.
Yeah.
And so what I figured is when you learn how to generate your own high quality leads, you kind of start to the point where you can write your own paycheck. So for you, like, what do you think is the science behind the marketing and the sales? Because there's an aspect to that I think a lot of people skip over.
Amen. So the goal is high quality leads that are easy to convert. Like that's literally should be every single person's goal. Well, what I have applied and what I think the sort of not even the future, like if you're doing it right now, it's inbound marketing with outbound prospecting. So you apply that boiler room mindset that I'm going to dial for dollars. I'm going to be on the phone more than I'm going to be on Facebook, right? I'm going to be face-to-face more than I'm going to be on Facebook. Like you have that mindset of a salesperson, but you have inbound content marketing that's built off the back of your personal brand. It's actually that easy. When somebody says, I guarantee you, I don't even know what you sell, Drewbie, but I will guarantee when you get on a sales call or when you have someone reach out that says, hey, dude, I love your podcast, da-da-da-da-da, it's not a sales pitch, it's a conversation. They're already sold. It's really just about terms. Can we make this work? Does it make sense for you to even do it? It just goes right into the negotiation. You probably have dealt with this, especially again with the podcast. I bet people reach out and they're like, dude, I don't even know what you sell. Like, what do you sell? I did videos and social, and I had 500 episodes of a podcast in 2014. Like I've been doing content marketing, books, blogs, YouTube. And when my sales team gets on the phone and they say, hey, I read Chris's book, I love it, deal, right? Hey, we watched The Water Cooler, you and Jimmy are amazing, like, so, but I will say this, man, most salespeople like me and you, like if you're a salesperson, you don't always have the right brain to do marketing that's high quality. So it's kind of like, if you need the sales guy, hire them. If you need the marketing person, hire them. But of course, the companies we all admire and look up to, they have experts doing both. I personally love attention, gratitude. I love the vanity metrics. I care how many followers I have. I care, I'm checking how many likes my post just got. How much reach did it get? How many views did the reel that I posted yesterday that I created on Sora 2, like how many views did that get? Like, so the book, the way it breaks down is section 1 is marketing and how to do inbound high quality marketing so that you're not cold calling per se. Section 2 is systems and processes. So lead routing, lead scoring, behavior-based follow-up, pixel tracking, there's a tech stack that matters because 2025, 2026.
Amen.
And then section 3 is, okay, now we're at that moment of truth where we're on the phone. So when people say, what is lead conversion? How do you define lead conversion? For me, it's literally a Venn diagram of sales, marketing, and tech. And to have the highest conversion rate possible, you have to have the overlap of all three. And you have to do all three well. So if somebody's listening right now and they're like, man, we're great at sales, we just don't have enough conversations. Well, then you need to look at your marketing and your systems. If they're like, hey, we're selling, but or we're getting a bunch of leads, but we're not turning any of them into business. Okay, then you need to look at your systems and your sales. It should be pretty easy to diagnose. And what I think is unbelievable is that the internet exists, social media exists. There's never been a better time in the world ever where you could actually go out and get in front of your ideal client profile every single day for free. So I would just say, like, take your marketing as serious as you take your sales. You can't wing it on the marketing and then expect people to be blown away on the conversation side, but you have to be self-aware enough to kind of score. It's one of the things I have people do is like, here's 10 things that really matter. Give yourself a 1 through 10. And now you know kind of what to go after first as far as like, because everybody's different,
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, I would say content marketing plus outbound sales. And then if your personal brand's involved, that's super big because they see you, they hear you, they get to know you. I asked a question on a live stream last month. I said, hey, for those of you that have never met me, if I said I was coming into town this weekend, would you let me sleep on your couch? That was every single person. Sure. Of course, Chris. I'm like, you guys are stupid. What if I murder you? Like,
weirdos. Like, what are you doing?
But it just showed you that you can create powerful connections through a screen.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I'm loving this. And so I want to ask, because this is a conversation I'm having on a pretty regular basis. And so I'd be curious your perspective, right? AI,
Mm-hmm.
it's the buzz. We got ChatGPT, we got Sora, we got all these different technologies and softwares we can use.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to know, do you think that AI is going to replace salespeople?
I think AI, I think the first thing it would, replace would probably be more so the appointment setter. So the person that has to have the 3-minute call to figure out if the person wants to have the real call. I think that role is in trouble because it's a shitty role. It sucks. It's hard and it's low paid. I would say, but I will say this, man, people are going to want choices. Okay. So think about it like this. If you're listing your house, you could go to a discount broker. You could do for sale by agent, for sale by owner. You could go to Open Door and just sell it, in one click to them, or you could list it the traditional way. And those all have pros and cons. So I just think of it as like, if I'm trying to have the best sales team possible, I want a robot on the team. Not because I believe in it, because it will be the preferred method of some of the people that I want to buy my stuff. Will it replace them? Well, Zillow didn't replace realtors, and Slack didn't replace email. And I think it's always a little bit of a kind of a victim of the moment to think that something will replace people. I actually asked AI, like the first week I used ChatGPT, will real estate agents still exist in 2045? They said, absolutely. It's a big emotional transaction, and it's going to always be important to have someone holding your hand that knows what they're doing while you go through it. Cool. So will it replace salespeople? No, but you have to know this, Drewbie. 80% of salespeople are terrible. So I think it will make a bigger gap. I think that the people that are great at sales will go to another level and it'll make them 5 times better than they already are. And then I think it'll take the people that are kind of average and it'll make them above average. Like if I have real-time analysis of the conversation, like have you ever heard of Gong, G-O-N-G?
Yes.
Dude, Gong is like when I was at Quicken Loans, we had a sales coach for every team, and they'd listen to your calls, and we would be on like a chat tool, and the coach would be like, say this, dude, say this, ask this, like, no, do this. Every now and then they'd just be like, hey, this is Jason. Can I just either just butt into the call?
Just jump in.
Yeah. But the idea that AI can help you improve your conversations is already available to now. The data that AI can analyze around, and the reason I mentioned Gong is they have such cool data around, what is the average length of a call of a top salesperson versus an average salesperson? What is the right listen to talk ratio? Things like that. So I think it's a game changer, but I do think it will eliminate certain sales conversations for regular salespeople because people will want that as an option. I'll give you one other example. If you're only doing one-to-one sales, there's a huge opportunity to do like a group call, right? There are many, many people that are not ready to talk to a salesperson, but they kind of want to know what the pitch is. So if you do like a group webinar, it isn't just that like all those people would have heard you out eventually. You're actually opening up the conversation to the type of person that doesn't want to talk to a salesperson yet. And many times at the end of that webinar, now they're like, okay, cool. Now I want to talk to somebody because I kind of get it. So I always lean in to, and Gary Vee said this yesterday, the and, not the or. I want to do human sales and AI sales.
I love that answer. And it's very much in line with the way I look at it. I see AI as great for content creation and shortcutting a lot of the processes of like, what's the best way to respond here? And so you can utilize those tools. But I agree with you in that the people who are great at being genuine communicators with other human beings, they're going to absolutely skyrocket because the number of people who want to talk to a robot, it exists. It's slim. And I know this because every one of us gets on the phone and they smash that zero and they're screaming, representative, because we're still human and we want to talk to somebody where there's an emotional connection. And I can't say that it won't get there, but it's
the
not
price
there. And
point
it's going to be
also matters, right? If I'm selling a book, I ain't talking to you, but if I'm selling a, car or a house or a coaching service that's, a couple $1,000 a month, like people are definitely going to want to still talk to someone for the foreseeable future. But you have to remember, if you think of a game, like a baseball game is 9 innings, I only watch baseball during the playoffs. So that's why I'm thinking about it right now. Like if you look at AI, especially like AI sales, like, robots trying to be salespeople, it's still batting practice, dude. It's not even the first inning. So what happens when we're in the 5th inning and the 9th inning? And, I would say don't be so, don't have this hubris that it won't be a thing because people almost always wrong. It's like, I don't want a touch screen. I want a keyboard on my BlackBerry, and it's like, I don't want to, I don't want a MacBook. I like my PC, or I don't want to use Gmail. AOL's just fine. Or I'm not going to switch to Chrome. Internet Explorer's, gets the job done. Like, and then, dude, Facebook is stupid and TikTok is dumb. And people are almost always historically wrong. So I just always am open-minded, and excited versus standoffish when it comes to any new tech trend. And by the way, that means you're going to be wrong a lot too. And you're going to waste some time doing some dumb stuff. But I'd rather do that and be an early adopter than be a laggard.
Brother, we could sit here and nerd out on this for probably the next 8-9 hours, but then we'd have to charge people because we go into some of the really good stuff. And I know you've got a lot of really good stuff. So how do we come find you, follow you, check out more of your content? Where can we find your book? Give me the deets.
Sure. Yeah. The easiest thing would just be theconversioncode.com, theconversioncode.com. Most people should get the audiobook. I read it myself. So if you think, if you're enjoying the conversation, it's, about 8 hours of that. And then if you just go to theconversioncode.com, you can find my social and stuff, but I'm mostly active on IG and my handle is, I don't know if it's on the screen during the recording, but it's Chris_SMTH, no I in Smith. I like to say that when I got my account, I couldn't afford the vowel. And so, but it's just such a common name. We talked about that before the call. And it's also the same on Twitter. So Twitter and Instagram is where I'm the most active. And then theconversioncode.com. is where you can go. And there's the link to Amazon and Audible.
Beautiful. And we'll make sure we put all those in the show notes and remind everybody how to find you, because this has been an absolutely amazing conversation. So I want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart for taking some time out to be here with us.
No worries, man. Thanks for having me.
Listen, you guys know what to do. If you enjoyed the show, go follow Chris. Go share this episode on the social media platform of your choice. Tag the two of us. Let the world know that you spent some of your most valuable asset here with us today, your time, and that you got something from it. And then maybe you know somebody who sucks at sales. Send this to them. You don't have to tell them they suck, but like just say, hey, I listened to this episode and made me think, yeah, I think you should check it out.
Perfect.
And that's how we get the word out about Call the Damn Leads. And here's the other thing. If you have a crazy sales story, I'd love to bring you on the show. Head over to callthedamnleads.com/podcast. Send us your information. Check out the store. We got hats. We got keychains. We got all the awesome swag that you can need. But more than anything, go pick up the phone. Call the Damn Leads. We'll see you next time.
When the doubt gets loud, but answer that call. Vision ain't real till you grind that speed, so breathing deep. Then call the damn leads. Call the damn leads.